Morning, folks. Don Winter from Panama Guide. Today's Tuesday, the 4th of December, 2012. I'm going to run through the headlines real quick that are appearing in the news media in Panama today. First of all, on the La Prensa newspaper, there was the collapse of the highway between Panama City and Colón during the floods last week. And apparently right below the highway there was a company that was doing some excavation of some land for a housing project. And they're looking at that to see if that was the cause of the collapse. And it kind of looks, I mean, you know, obviously the technical conclusions are not in yet, but that's what's the headline on that. And the Ministry of Public Works and the government has already indicated that if that's the case, then they're going to hold that company responsible for what happened. And remember, in that collapse, 2 people lost their lives. The Red Cross workers, they were actually there looking at the road, and it was starting to crack when it gave way, and then they were crushed in a landslide. So that's an important thing, and that's going to be looked at. So that's the headline today on the La Prensa newspaper. In the Panama America, they have approved the use of $174 million of the Panama Savings Fund monies to respond to the floods, which occurred last week. This was somewhat controversial, but not too much. There's this Panama Savings Fund. They have $1.2 billion in that fund, but it was kind of supposed to be put away and you can't touch it unless there's an emergency, but they weren't supposed to touch it until 2015, but there was an emergency. So they've gone ahead and approved the use of this money. So it's $174 million, and they have to do things like rebuild the road between Panama City and Colón on the Trans-Caspian Highway. And there's other bridges that have gone down, and there's other damage that was done by those floods. So that's what the money's going to be used for, and that's been approved. Now, this one here, I haven't had a chance to really look at yet. It's the headline in the La Estrella newspaper. I'm going to be covering this one later. They have there's a corruption scandal. There's a network of fraud artists basically within the public registry, and it has to do with the land, the theft of land in Piña and Colón, which is on the lower coast. So I'm going to be looking at that one a little bit more in depth. But again, that's the headline today in the La Estrella newspaper is this land scandal. There's a lot of this going on with the Anati and between Paitilla, Juan Hombrón, Punta Chame. There's another case that's getting ready to pop in Bocas del Toro, and then that's just 4 that are the big ones. But then there's a lot of other ones that have to do with people using fraudulent means to steal land, and it's basically people paying bribes, and they're getting accomplices within the government, and it's going to be a really big, strategically bad thing for Panama with regards to land ownership and judicial security for title and owning land. So that's something that's going to be getting bigger and bigger, and it's like a growing balloon. It just continues to inflate. Okay, in La Crítica, they found the body of a young woman in Chiriquí, and there's also a young 18-year-old woman in Chiriquí who's been missing since last Friday, and the details on that are starting to leak out, and it looks like it might be her. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but that's what's making the headlines in the La Crítica and a couple other of the newspapers. But that's a big story that a lot of people are following. In Telemetro, again, here's on the Telemetro Channel 13 newspaper. They are focusing on the polls, and it's always funny to watch how Panamanian journalists report on polls, because all of the news media in Panama is focused on one party or the other. In this case, Telemetro is a PRD organization. Pretty much, they're always against the CD, and they're always in favor for anything that's PRD. So they always take the numbers and flip them around, and instead of saying there's a 52% positive rating, they'll say there's a 48% negative rating, and they'll concentrate on the negative rating. But it's the same numbers. It's just fun with numbers. But that's one of the lead things in the Telemetro this morning. Okay, and then on Channel 2 TVN, there was a short protest by the Sountracks workers. They're talking about an arbitrary increase in bus rates. I mean, but the reason it's important is because anytime the Sountracks gets out, they can, you know, they were doing they closed the road for a short period of time in the Costa del Este. It wasn't. I mean, they do these little things like when they're on a break or when they're on lunch. You know, they'll take 100 people out for 20 minutes at 12 noon and shut down Calle 50 and blah, make a big thing, and then okay, lunch break's over, everybody back to work. But that's what they do, and it's not a big thing. It's not nationwide, but it can really screw up a neighborhood for a short period of time. So anyway, that happened. Sountracks, short-term little, you know, snap protest in Costa del Este. Now, again, in the Siglo, the lead today is talking about the same, the woman that was found, apparently her body was burned in Chiriquí. They're also talking, you know, politics with the PRD. I think I covered that yesterday, but it's still an issue. The PRD, Juan Carlos Navarro, is consolidating his effort. What's happening with the PRD this week is the different candidates are signing up to be candidates. They've got until Wednesday, and then that starts their primary run, and then the election for their internal primary will be in March. So that's why it's news this week, because all of these guys that are going to be candidates have to sign up and become candidates officially so they can go into the primary thing. All right. And then in Mi Diario, once again, the body of the girl who was found in Chiriquí is leading the headlines there. And in the Dia Dia, they're talking primarily about people who are concerned about the possibility of flooding in the areas that have already flooded. So, you know, what you have is you have people that have bought a house for, you know, a considerable amount of money. For a Panamanian family, an investment of $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 is a lot of money. So they buy a new house and it's built and they move in and all that's great, and then wham, you got water up to the roof. So now they're asking the question of how come this has never flooded before in 100 years, but all of a sudden it's flooded. I just moved in. You know, I need to be relocated. I need help. You know, we need to have a new house someplace else, and you know, so all of those questions are arising. And there was like 1,000, you know, 1,800 houses that were flooded, 6,000 or 7,000 people that were affected in one way or the other in 3 different areas, primarily in La Chorrera and Colón and Capira. So that's what's leading their headlines today. Okay, so that's just a quick wrap up. I did it under 8 minutes. Yay! And then I'm going to be calling, hopefully in a little while here, I'm going to be calling Kent Davis, who's a real estate agent here in Panama City. And Kent is one of the guys that I always talk to when it's just time to take the temperature just in general of the real estate market in Panama. We're moving into the dry season. I know a lot of people come down here during the dry season on vacation to do things like that. So I'm going to talk to Kent. That's it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.